What are assets again? What things would we count as assets? What things would we count as assets? Things you own, yeah. Things you own. What would be an example of something we can own? Let's do it this way. A car, anything else we could own? A home, anything else we might own? Remember, it's physical stuff. Our clothes, yeah, jewelry, furniture, okay? All these things are assets, things we own, okay? Then we have our liabilities. What are the liabilities again? Things we owe. Things we owe, okay? Things we owe. And what could be some of those things we owe? Car payment, yes. Rent or house payment, right? Because it depends on your credit cards, yes, exactly. And loans for various things, right? We clear on that? Because we've already kind of talked about some of this stuff. Okay. And the last thing our balance sheet will get us is our net worth. Okay. How do we find net worth? We talked about it in previous chapters. How do we find net worth? How do we find net worth? What are we going to do to find our net worth? It was part of last chapter's test. Yep. Assets minus liabilities. Our net worth. Okay. The personal balance sheet. Gives a picture of your net worth, which is essential for financial planning. If you don't know how much you're worth, then there's no way you can plan. There's no way you can know what we have available to work with and things like that. Okay, so you need to be looking at your personal balance sheet. Okay. Now, there are different parts to the personal balance sheet. My pen decided to change colors for some reason. Parts to the balance sheet. And we're going to review a few of them today, and then we're going to finish them up tomorrow in part 2's notes. So let's add up here that this is part 1. Okay. So our first part is our assets. Okay. And there are 3 kinds of assets. There are liquid, household, and investment. assets. Okay, 3 types of assets. And we're going to look at each one. First one is the liquid. We kind of defined what liquid was before. What are we meaning by liquid assets? What are we meaning by liquid assets again? When I say that phrase, liquid assets, what does that mean again? Because we defined it once before. What did we mean by liquid assets? Is it just money? Is liquid assets just money? When we defined it before, did we define liquid assets as just money? Ah, yeah. It's the things you can turn into cash easily without taking a big loss. You might have a little bit of loss, but not a big loss. Without taking a big loss. Because if we were going to try and sell our home quickly, more than likely we'd take a big loss. Okay, because people take advantage of the situation when someone has to sell a house or a car or something like that quickly, even investments quickly. They'll go ahead and there's extra fees because you're paying it off early, things like that. But jewelry, furniture, clothes, things you own that are easy physical stuff, your checking account, your savings account, anything that can be counted almost as cash because it can be made into cash easily. Okay. But one of the things is it must be earning money. Okay. Usually interest bearing checking or savings accounts. Okay, so it could be physical things that get turned into cash, or it could be your interest bearing checking and savings accounts. Those are the 2 kinds. Okay. Next kind, we have household. Don't know it's a dash. I'm trying to keep track of my thing. Household. Household assets. I want a space here. Looks a little better to me. Household assets. Household assets are things like your car, your furniture. Spell it right. Your house, things like that. Okay. Things that are harder to sell without a loss. Okay. Household things. Harder to sell for cash without a loss. Okay. These get evaluated by market value, which is the true amount they can be sold for, not sold for today, not what they cost to buy them. Okay. So when we talk about, we can't go ahead and say, oh, well, I spent 175,000 on it. I spent 50,000 on it. I spent whatever on it. You have to evaluate how much if you're going to sell it. And that's where the potential for loss happens, how much you could sell it for today. Okay. So when you're looking on your balance sheet, you're looking at, for your liquid stuff, mostly you're looking at your checking and savings accounts. Okay. Sometimes you'll have other little accounts, or you'll have some things that can be turned into cash easily without a loss. Those you can put them, as is on the balance sheet. But our bigger things that we're going to have to go out there into the market and sell to somebody, we have to evaluate. And there's websites where you can go check, like for the value of a car, that's Kelley Blue Book. For the value of home, you could do something like Zillow. Furniture, there's lots of different websites where you can go buy stuff. Craigslist, you go searching for something that's similar, right? All right. Some of these assets will not be worth as much as you paid for them. Big example is which one? Of the three we listed as examples in number one, which one of those have we already talked about? Yep, the car. Cars depreciate. I'm gonna put this down here with this. Okay, cars, as soon as you drive them off the market, even if they're brand new, once you drive it away from the dealer onto the street, your price for your value for the car has gone down. It's crazy because now it's used. But like I said, you could find out the value of this through a website called Kelley Blue Book. They used to actually have a book, and it was blue. That's why it's called Kelley Blue Book. It's a company that would go do research on valuations of cars. But now their website, they have a website, kbb.com. Okay, that is one of the ways that you can find the value of your car. Okay, and I already mentioned for homes, sometimes they're not worth as much. So especially depending on the market. Remember for a while there, back in you were young, but back in like the 2007, 2008, when all the market fell out of everything and freaked out all the parents, the homes weren't worth as much. Yeah, wasn't a depression, it was recession, but it's okay. So to find out your values of homes, I do recommend Zillow.com because they'll compare it. They have software built into them that goes and compares other houses near yours, similar sizes. It's called a Zestimate, which is for Zillow, I guess. But when you go to put those on your balance sheet, you have to look at current market value. Okay, current market value. Okay. So now we have to talk about our last category of assets that we already said, and that is the investments. Okay. Investments category can include stocks, bonds, mutual funds. We're going to be finding out more about all these things as we progress through the book. Real estate for rental. So not a personal home, but one that you bought to rent to somebody else. Also retirement accounts. These are all investments. These are all investments. Now we're going to go over the stocks and the bonds today, and then we're going to pick up tomorrow with the mutual funds. Okay. Let's see if it does it. Okay. So for stocks, let's spell it right. Stocks, they are a certificate of partial ownership in a company that is publicly traded. Okay. Now, publicly traded means that it's either the stock exchange. Okay, that's through the stock exchange, or what they call NASDAQ. Okay. They have to be publicly traded though. And those are the ones you hear about on the news. You know, there are websites you can go watch and monitor that'll let you buy and sell these stock certificates that at any given moment stand for a percentage of ownership in a company. Bonds are certificates that act like an IOU. You guys know what IOU stands for? You guys know what IOU stands for, right? Yeah. Okay. Promissory. Promise to pay is another way to say it. As an IOU from a government agency or a business, because businesses can put out bonds as well, or a business that has a specified amount to be paid back in a specified amount of time. Example, a treasury bond for 5 years. I could do this one second. A $1,000 treasury bond for 5 years. So they will tell you how much money they're going to pay you back and the time frame when that's going to come back. Okay. And basically what it is you are loaning them money on a long-term basis, and in exchange they're going to pay you back more than what you loaned them. So it's like earning interest, but they don't necessarily state percentages all the time. Sometimes it's just the dollar value and the number of years, and they don't tell you the percentage because it gives them a fixed amount that they have to pay back. Now, usually for that $1,000 treasury bond, you might have bought it for like $700. So in the 5 years, you're making $300. So you're watching for the ones that are cheaper. You are always buying them for less than face value, and then they pay you back face value. Okay. And like I said, we're going to talk about mutual funds and liabilities and net worth tomorrow. Any questions about this stuff? Because they're a certificate, whoever redeems the certificate is the one who owns them. So you have to treat them like cash. You have to treat them like cash. Usually you're getting them electronically through your, like through a broker, or you're buying them through, like you could go on Robinhood and get some bonds. Acorn, you can buy bonds. It just depends. And it's being held virtually in your name. So I don't know how it would work switching it over to someone else in that kind of situation. But in the old timey days, they literally sent you a certificate that said, we owe you X amount of dollars in X amount of time. And the person would have to bring that certificate back, physical document. I don't know how it's working now with all the electronic stuff. Okay, does anybody have any questions about those notes? Okay, hit the turn in button. There's nothing more you need to do, just hit turn in. Okay, now